one anyway.
I'll have the rest back, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Just remind you that in declaring the meeting open, the 1.1 recording and publishing in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. 1.2, we would acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respect to the elders, both past and present. Apologies, 1.3, apologies for an application for leave of absence by councillors. We have two, one for Councillor Peter Wright, who is attending the Sale Yards conference in somewhere north, Sunshine Coast, or Gold Coast, I think, and Councillor Ruth Fagan, who is on holidays overseas. And we might also note an apology from the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, Dirk Weimer, who is, of course, ably covered tonight by Pippa. So have a motion, please. Councillor Smith, Councillor Downing. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. 1.4, disclosures of interest. Councillors and staff are asked to indicate, please, in relation to any interest you may need to declare. A, what report or item you're declaring interest in, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of that interest. There is none. Presentations, we have no presentations, and there is no public forum. So to item 2, we go to the matter of the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held 26th of June. Both sets, both the ordinary council meeting and the confidential council meeting, or component of it. So I'm going to move they be adopted, please. Councillor Delbo, thank you. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Any comments on those? I'll sign those to an accurate record. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Now go to page 26, please. Page 26, items starting 3.1, recommendations from the committee meeting, and the first one is from the Director of Corporate Services in regards to noting the investments and financial report for June 2023. Move that, please. Councillor Smith, thank you. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Any comments or questions on that? Whoever doesn't wish to speak, no comments or questions. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. 3.2, Director of Environmental Services report. 3.2 is the review of the draft Access Incentive Scheme grant funding policy. There's 2 points there, so I'm going to move that. Councillor Watt, thank you. Second to Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I'll speak to that briefly. Thank you. As we discussed in our meeting earlier this month, the Access Incentive Grants funding scheme is up for review. I'd encourage all community members to take the opportunity to have a look at this. This is a policy we've had in place for a number of years, and over the years has made a really big difference in our ability to ensure that our community is accessible to all. However, we haven't had a lot of uptake from this policy for the last 5 or 6 years. So we would encourage our community to take a look at this and give us some feedback to let us know how we can make sure this is effective going forward. We know there's still a number of issues in our main street and our businesses for accessibility, and so we really want to make sure that we can support our businesses in changing that. We know that it is sometimes quite a high ticket item to take on to improve the accessibility of your shop or your workplace, but we put forward this policy as a way to work through that with you, and it'll be open for a minimum of 28 days if it's passed today, and I encourage all my councillors to support this.
Is there a second that wish to speak? Any further comments?
I'd just like to thank Larissa for the extra information that we received after the report, which I had queries about last meeting. And also just to back what Councillor Watt has said, that we'd love the community to have a look at this, to give us their feedback. And this is not just for the Cowra community, it's also for the villages as well. So everyone, I'd invite them to go and have a look.
Thank you. Any further comments? Right reply probably not required. Councillor Watt, put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against, declared it carried. 3.3, review of the draft naming and renaming bridges, roads, streets and places policy. Again, there's a 2-point recommendation there about public exhibition. Councillor Delvo, Councillor Smith, thank you. Councillor Delvo, no comments. Councillor Judy Smith.
This is another policy update that takes into account new focuses of the state government, and I do urge, as with the last one, I urge the community to have a look at it. One of the very welcome things about it, in my opinion, is an encouragement to use Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander place names. And I think it's very important, if there is anyone in the community wanting to name a road or a park or anything like that, that they're aware of the strict limitations that are put upon the names that we can authorise by the Geographical Names Board.
I'm going to very briefly agree with those comments, particularly in the latter part about encouraging people to have a read of this and understand the issues and limitations the council has about the freedom to name various pieces of infrastructure and assets that we might like to, but given the restrictions on the ability to do so by the Geographical Names Board, which is not always easy, but it's important, I think, that people have a chance to read it and understand it, so that when they do consider making an application or making suggestions for a name, that they're aware of that and saves council having to say no if that's what the circumstances arrive at. Further comments? Right reply? Put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Page 28, please, colleagues, is 4.1. Financial assistance grants, the FAG grants, is a recommendation there from the Director. We note the report regarding information and also calculation of payment of the FAG, which is financial assistance grants. The mover, please. Councillor Paul Smith. Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Smith, you wish to speak.
Just to acknowledge that it appears to me that the rise has been almost 7%, which is very welcome at this point in time. It's almost up with inflation. Won't carry the rest of our deficit as far as rates and everything else goes against inflation, but at least this bit does comply.
Thank you. I would also like to support Councillor Smith. We're very happy to see this come through, and I imagine our accounting team happy to see it come through almost 100% at the beginning of the financial year, which gives us the capacity to plan going forward. However, as has been advocated for a long time by local government, there's a need for these financial assistance grants to be more substantial to support the work that is delegated to local councils. As we all know in this chamber, local councils are responsible for a huge amount of things in the community. However, the taxes are generally raised and money is generally raised at a federal and state level. So we are very reliant on things like the financial assistance grants to do our basic operations. And this is one of the few that isn't tied to particular programs. So I look forward to the federal government following through on committing to 1% of their budget coming through in fags.
Any further comments? Councillor Smith.
I'd just like to add, speaking generally, that while the financial assistance grants and any other grants we get are extremely welcome, what would be even more welcome, given that most councils are strapped for cash due to a combination of things, which would include rate pegging, requirement by state governments that council funds things that state government used to and, in my opinion, should fund, and the increasing expectations of community, what would be even better than getting financial assistance grants, hopefully every year, but the amount being at the whim of whatever government is in power, would be if councils were given 1% of government revenue and we knew exactly what we were going to get every year.
Further comments? I concur with those comments, councillors, and I think we've been saying for quite some time in this chamber that 1% is something we should be striving for, and it would make life a whole much easier for our ratepayers and for the council, particularly bearing in mind that I think traditionally the federal government collects over 80% of the taxes, state government about 14-15%, local government collects about 4% of the revenue from taxes and other revenue raised across the entire dollar value. So we really don't collect a great deal of revenue, and we don't, with rate pegging, we don't have a great revenue stream, yet we do provide services that impact on our community's lives every day in a whole range of areas. So I think it's totally reasonable for councils to be continuing to urge the federal government to loosen. Well, this is great, but to loosen the purse strings a little bit more to make it local government far more sustainable. The other one I think we just need to keep in the back of our mind as part of the report is that the impact that this will have on the 2022-23 budget and also the 2024 budget in terms of the early payments and how that fits in with our budgetary period. So if next year or this year we see that something's gone up, something's gone down, well, we need to just go back and look at when the FAG grants were paid. It could be a $5 million hole in the budget, for example, if we're not mindful of that long-term picture that we need to be adopting. Councillor Delva.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just want to pick up on that point of the 100% of the upfront payment, which is quite new. We haven't experienced that before. Did they justify why they have done that and or provided any explanation?
Once it's a generosity, the director will answer the question.
Through the chair, short answer, no. The information that you have in the attachments is all that we received.
I welcome the upfront payment and just, support that so we can long-term plan. I just thought it was unusual considering what they've done in the past. Thank you.
I think a lot of people are struggling with interest rates. By the same token, early payment with interest rates of 4% or so, that also adds to the quantum to some extent. So, right reply.
Just to reiterate my fellow councillors that yes, the fact that it is paid up front possibly gives us another 2%. If we can get 4% and average it out over the 12 months, it probably gives us 2% extra as well, which is very, very welcome. But I agree that it's so ironic that they give us money and it's not tied, so that's wonderful. But we have to comply with all their wishes. So it's only fair that they should. And I mean, the two things we've dealt with tonight is the naming board, which we have to comply with all whatever they say. Not that there's a lot of finance in that, but it's just typical of what goes on. And of course, Director of Environmental Services is only too happy to have the mandatory use of their lovely portal that we have to do. With all these mandatory things that we comply with, it's only fair that they should pay. And I agree with everyone else. I don't know that they pay enough. That's all.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. And I'm going to digress slightly off not normal protocol, but it's interesting also to note that the circular that we get advising us of the FAG grants is from the New South Wales Government, Office of Local Government. It doesn't come direct, it comes through we won't comment about clipping. Next item is going to be on page 35, which is procedural motion, just acknowledging the release of resolutions in closed council made during the June council meeting. I'm happy to move that. Councillor Paulsmith, Councillor Sharon Delba, thank you. Being procedural, unless there's an error, I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against, declare it carried. We'll go to page 37. And we'll talk of the draft minutes of the Australian chapter of the World Peace Bell Association. Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Watt, thank you. You wish to speak?
Yes, just to say that we have been having a few more regular meetings at the moment because we have our World Peace Day celebrations coming up in September. So we've decided on a few things. We're working with the Youth Council as well. Does anyone have any questions or anything about the minutes?
Questions? You're getting off easy.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Yeah.
The second wish to speak?
Just briefly to add, before we started our official council meeting today, we were joined by the Youth Committee, who, as Councillor Downing mentioned, are a partner of the World Peace Bell Association for World Peace Day, and would encourage any young people listening to think about entering the public speaking competition and think about what peace means to them.
Any further comments? Rod reply. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against, declare it carried. 4.4, the recommendation there from the Director of Corporate Services in regards to the donation to the Ramsey All Blacks Rugby League team or football club. The recommendation there. So I'm going to move that. Councillor Watt, Councillor Downing. Speak to it. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, briefly, we have a number of times supported the Arambi All Blacks club to attend the Rugby League knockout, and I am very excited that we are discussing doing that again and would encourage my councillors to do so. This is a very important event for our team, and as many of us know, the Arambi All Blacks is the longest standing rugby league team, and to see people who have a look here, this is going to support 75 players and support staff and families to attend, which is a really fantastic contribution for us to support our community in taking part. And I hope everyone plays well, connects with their culture and connects with each other, and has a fantastic time.
Councillor Downing. Councillor Smith.
I'd like to move an amendment if possible.
I'll hear the second. You want to move an amendment? Okay, hear the second.
I support the motion as it is. Just wanted to say that this is the junior teams are an inception of Phil Ingram, and having spoken to him, he's very confident. He has explained that as a junior, playing for the Ramsey All Blacks was really important to him, and he couldn't get that opportunity and to do that until he was older, because there was no opportunity. So he's trying to drive this. The Ingram and Bamblett families have supported this event for years. They've paid for people to go out of their own pockets. I think that we should be supporting this, some of the lowest income families in our shire. It's very valuable culturally to them as well. And just to mention that, we acknowledge, in every acknowledgement of country we acknowledge the elders emerging, and these are the people. So I fully support it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment that I'd like to move that we ask for results of the carnival. And the reason I ask for results for the carnival is that last year we increased our donation from 3,000 to 5,000 as they were taking a ladies' side. Now, I'm not certain that they did take a ladies' side, and therefore I would like this year they're not taking ladies, so they're going to take junior sides. So
before you speak to it, what you're moving is.
I would like to move that that we be supplied, the Arambi All Blacks supply us results after
a
the
report.
Sorry,
A report.
a report. Yeah, a report would be lovely. I just like the results.
Sorry. Yes, ma'am. Okay. No. The amendment is required to have a seconder. That lapses for a seconder.
Oh.
Thank you. Further comments on the motion? No further comments? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Sorry. Right reply.
We don't require anyone else who requests a donation from us to provide a report on what they have done with the money we give to them. I think it would be highly offensive if we required that for this group when we do not require it for anyone else. So I encourage everyone to support this and to support the Orambe All Blacks in continuing to participate in something they've done for many years and something that contributes greatly to the community.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Page 4.5, page 48, which is a donation for $400 for Kai Garrett to attend the Australian National Championships. Recommendation 4.5, Councillor Kiss, Councillor Smith, Kim, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just briefly, I think this is an absolutely worthy cause. Young Kai Garrett seems to be a very talented young man, and I fully support his ambition in attending the Hockey Australia National Championships. Thank you.
Yep, seconder.
Thank you. It fits with our policies, and he is obviously a very talented young person because we've already assisted him to go to the track and field championships. So I think we should be encouraging a young person like this and helping him out when we can.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, look, I've got some questions. This is the second time we've assisted Mr. Garrett. Again, he's put it in post-event, and he's representing the ACT, not New South Wales, where we live. And on top of that, I think $3,500 seems to be a hell of a lot of money to go to Hobart for a hockey competition. But I'm not going to vote against it, but gee, I asked some questions. Thank you.
I think that I understand what you're saying. I think the policy also requires Australian, New South Wales and territory representatives, so he's covered by territory representatives to some extent. Further comments?
He's only asking us for $500 of that $3,000. So yeah, so council's donation would be $500.
Actually, I think
400.
400.
It says $500 in financial details, amount of assistance being sought.
I'm not going to put words in Councillor Smith's mouth, but I think what he was saying was that noting the cost of sending someone to these events as opposed to Any further comments? Right reply. I put the recommendation. Those in favour. Against, declare it carried. Cowra donation to Cowra driver reviver. Councillor Delbo's moving that. Councillor.
I'd like to move an amendment, please.
Sorry?
I'd like to move an amendment, please.
Okay. Well, you can, that's right. You move it,
Okay, fantastic.
you move something different. Just tell me.
I'd like to increase, we've noted the financials at $799, which is the cost of the system. They have also provided us with an additional receipt from Bunnings for some aluminium flat bar something. And that is included in their original report where they've asked for $818.14. I'd like to add that as the new total.
So effectively what you're saying is the donation of $818. Okay. Did we get a seconder? Sorry.
Could I make comment to that? They actually made a mistake in the original work order or quote from Bunnings. They managed to secure the product for cheaper, so hence why it's showing only in the recommendation for $799. So just wanted to note that. That's all they're asking for.
Okay, I'll eat my words
So,
and go back to the original, please.
are you happy to move the original motion?
Yes, thank you.
The seconder, please. Councillor Downing, thank you. Wish to speak, Councillor Delbo?
No, thank you.
Councillor Downing?
To say that this is helping them after they've paid for a new hot water system due to the flooding, and I think it's a very worthy cause.
Thank you. I'm happy to support the recommendation, but I'm going to make a comment of some note, I hope anyway. And Councillor Smith started on that with a previous matter about having some sort of report come back. I noticed that this organisation has provided us with a budgeted item of what we're going to purchase. So I think as we move forward, there is an opportunity to respectfully ask people to provide some proof of attendance or some proof, not just tonight, but in going forward across the landscape, some proof of attendance and achievement. I don't know what that might look like in our policy, but I think in that policy it's probably worth giving consideration to in the future. That's I think the point's been probably a valid point in terms of just looking at that. Further comments? Right reply? Put the recommendation. I was in favour. Carried. No late reports. No urgent business. Mr. John Manager, you'll
No.
have to tap the button.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure whether I'm required to, but I certainly will anyway. And I would declare conflict of interest in relation to item 7.1 in confidential session as it relates to my contract of employment. So I'd ask that to be recorded in the minutes under the declaration of interest.
Thank you.
And I'll obviously leave the room.
Yeah. All right. We will take a recommendation. The council considers the confidential reports to close the meeting to the public in accordance with 10A2 of the Local Government Act 1993. Item number 7 is a confidential mayoral minute, which is 7.1, as the General Manager referred to, the mayoral minute covering the General Manager renewal of contract. The matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2A of the Local Government Act. And the council is satisfied the discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as it deals with a personal matter concerning particular individuals other than councillors. And item 8, 8.1, which is a request for tender, 1023 from the Cowra Aquatic Centre Management, which is from the Director of Infrastructure Operations. The matter is considered to be confidential under 10A2D1 of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied the discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. Pleased to move into closed council. Councillor Delbo, thank you. Councillor Kiss. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against, declare it carried.
Could I move procedurally?
I'm just
Or
going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
You're going to say we deal with the last one first and the first one last. Yeah. We deal with important